Hey, this is Harrison, aka Bean Bandit, for those of you in our Discord. I'm the programmer and lead developer for The Girl from Arkanya, and today we're going to be looking at the recently remade version of the game's first dungeon, Tia Iandara. I'm not the world's greatest multitasker, so I recorded this footage about 2 days ago, and having just watched it before this, I can tell you that I did some really dumb stuff, and I'm sure most of you are going to be better than me at my own game, but that's alright. So, I'm playing a slightly different version from what we gave our testers. I've made a few changes based on user feedback since then. By the way, if you're one of our Kickstarter backers who got the beta tester tier and you'd like to try this yourself, shoot us a message on Kickstarter or email us and I'll get you the download link. We're not going to make this public because, well, it's a pretty bare bones build. Also, we do definitely prefer if you are in the Discord so you can participate in feedback discussions. Oh, that item's not supposed to be in here. Just ignore the blue ribbon. And, drink a beer for good luck. And let's head downstairs. So, for those of you who played the first build of this, I think one of the big differences you'll notice is that everything is super glowy now. And of course that includes the pushable blocks. And we now have arrows on them that indicate the way that you're supposed to push them. Now, I don't think we're quite done messing with the push blocks yet. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to do these. And we've probably done 5 or 6 different iterations of them, and they're a lot more complicated than you would think. And we have our first enemies in here. Now, the enemy AI at this point is still pretty dumb. We have the basics for enemy pathfinding set up. We're going to be implementing a really basic A-star system for them. That's not quite ready yet, so at this point they just kind of run into walls and don't really know how to find you if there's an obstacle between you and them. And we've got the lemon lasers here. We call them the lemon lasers because before we had the procedurally generated laser graphics, they used to just be like little lemon balls, kind of like a Mega Man. Alright, so we get to the first real sort of puzzle here. A surprising number of people struggle with this one. I suppose it's because in this build we never explicitly tell you that you can pick up Cappy and throw him, but even when we had our Kickstarter demo and there was the whole sort of tutorial text where, Cappy would tell you that you can pick him up and throw him, people just still didn't really. It was pretty frequent that people wouldn't actually attempt to do it. They would just stand there and look at that gap and just not really know how to proceed. But, I mean, making the game more intuitive is kind of a continuous process, and, seeing people struggle like that is itself good feedback. Speaking of which, if any of you who are going to download this and play it want to record yourselves playing it, send us the recording. That's just phenomenal. Even better if you, record your commentary while you're doing it. Of course, the snake is having a rough time down there. We got these spinning lasers of death, and I immediately mess up on this. They're not particularly hard, but one thing you might notice is that Marissa is moving really slow here. I was using Unity's built-in recorder, which in the future I'm not going to do because it's not great, but one of the things that it does is it seems to slow down anything that's on the fixed update. And so, since Marissa's movement is tied to fixed update, she and Cappy both move just a bit slower than they should, which makes some of those moving lasers a little more difficult to deal with. Oh, we had a little bug there. I think that was just from the Unity recorder. That didn't happen in the when I was playing it. Now, there is an optional puzzle in this room that I just completely forgot to do. You can see it there on the right with the group of 4 glowy blocks. Cappy puzzle in here. Well, I say it's a Cappy puzzle. I mean, really all he has to do is sit on that button. This was where the recorder started to really get bad, and it gets better here in a minute. But you can see it's kind of doing some weird flashing, and I think we're gonna, for the future, switch to recording stuff like this with probably OBS. Or if any of you have a better suggestion, I'm certainly open to that. But yeah, the built-in Unity recorder, I mean, they even label it as experimental, but it has some neat features. I think it's just not stable enough yet for primetime use. All right, and we got the grappling hook. So now we're gonna grapple over the ledge here. That puzzle actually used to require you to throw Cappy across, but I figured, well, you just got the grappling hook, and you want to use it, so. I was trying really hard to be a Scorpion in this room, be like, get over here, but... So, the skeletons stop a ways back from you, or really any enemy you do this to, stops a ways back from you. We'll probably try to adjust that to get them in sword range when they stop, but originally it pulled it right up to you, and people didn't like that. You know, it's not that... you know, you get hurt when it happens, because we can turn the damage off when they're stunned like that, but the problem that most people experienced with that was that it would be right on top of them, and they would be kind of, I don't know, it's kind of an awkward spacing. We get to the laser redirectors. These are an old mechanic that we've sort of always had, but, oh, and I overshot it a little bit. We made them a lot more, they just work nicer now, and they look prettier too, although they're supposed to be glowing. I just noticed they're not glowing. That should be an easy fix. I wish we had made this room a little smaller, and we may go back and make it smaller, because you can't see the door when the door opens. I mean, you know, it's not like anybody's going to get lost because of that. You pretty much know to keep proceeding through the room, but we're going to go up and press the big button. These Marajoran computers are pretty weird. They just have one big glowing button in the center, like the size of a microwave. practically a walkthrough tutorial at this point, so anybody who sees this video is going to end up doing this dungeon in like 5 minutes, but yeah, that's okay. First dungeon does not have to be super hard. And we should, in the relatively near future, be doing a similar test where you can play both this one and the second dungeon. And I can tell you that the second one is a good bit more challenging. It also has pirates, so, you know, if you're into pirates, look forward to that. Obviously, this assumes that you're watching this video around the time I put it out. If you're watching this 6 months from now, then we're probably a little past that point. So there's actually supposed to be another enemy type in here. I think we have 3 total enemy types, not counting the boss, of course. There is supposed to be a 4th enemy type, which would be a ranged enemy, and it just wasn't ready. I think I got hit intentionally there. I just wanted to show you guys the animation and the sound. I really like it. But by the next time we release one of these, gotta remember the lever. By the next time we release one of these limited tests, we should have more enemy types in here, and a greater density of enemies too. That was one of the big feedbacks we got, was there's just not enough enemies. Okay, well, it's easy enough to add more enemies, so... And there really should be more enemies. I mean, these are meant to be replayable. And the thing is, if you come back in here knowing all the puzzle solutions, then, you know, all of the initial challenges is gone. At that point, you're just trying to make your way to the end of the dungeon. So the challenge for returning to the dungeon, and here I was trying to get the cubes to drop down on the snake, because the cubes will, we call them thumperies, but they will attack the snakes. It's kind of funny, but I couldn't get them to do it, so. The challenge when you come back to the dungeon is primarily going to be from the combat. So when people said we need more combat, it's like, yeah, we really do. I messed up in this room so bad. It's really embarrassing, but I do have an excuse. Somebody came in and started talking to me right when I got to this part. And this is probably... This is not a particularly hard room, if I'm being honest, but because I'm moving at that reduced speed, you know, I'm moving about half as fast as I should be. I mean, Marissa's quick, and you watch any of our Twitter GIFs or anything, you'd see she zips around, but I was moving so slow in this that, you know, that plus the distraction of somebody talking at me, I just couldn't do it. So we are coming up on the boss key here. We also got some feedback that people wanted Cappy to be involved in this puzzle somehow, so I'm kind of rethinking that right now. I'm thinking, well, how could we make it so he has to be used in this? You know, typically anytime we want the sort of like dual character cooperation, the easiest thing is just to make one of them like hold down a button while the other one goes and does stuff, but that gets stale real quick. Oh. yeah, I just wanted to jump off and show you guys the fall animation, because I figured by now I would have fallen at least once accidentally. I think the fall sound in the animation is real fun though, so. Plus right now we have fall damage turned off. It will be back on maybe by the next build. I don't know, it really depends if I feel like setting it up, because the thing with this build, and I don't die in this video, but if I did, you would see me just return to the beginning of the room, because, you know, we wanted people to not really be afraid to die, you know, because that makes it easier to test when you just can really take risks and do whatever you want, because you don't have to worry about the whole thing resetting. It does lower the difficulty a lot, and you probably also notice that there's no counter on the beer item. And again, that was just because we wanted people to be able to take risks and, you know, really get into it with the enemies. Maybe even just stand there and get hit for a while, just see what they can break. A couple people were really confused by this. You know, I'm an avid Zelda player, and typically almost every Zelda boss you are going to be using the item you get from the dungeon. Some people just didn't really register that you were supposed to use the grappling hook. So we're going to be working on the visuals for that, try to indicate that, you know, that is something you're supposed to do, that you're supposed to reach in there and hook him out. When he's got the shield over him, you can't do anything to him. And that was another thing. We had folks running into the center of the pit there, trying to hit him while he had his shield up. Once you know what to do, this boss is pretty trivial, but, I mean, ultimately it's the first boss in the game. So that about wraps things up for the Tia Iandara remake. Please remember to check out our Discord. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.